Hello there, and welcome to a CAASPP review. We are talking about number systems. This shouldn't take too long. We are going to go ahead and write in our notebooks here that we have number systems. So this will represent my notebook, and this is going to be 7.ns. All right, let's get started. So the first thing here is that we are going to where is my screencastify here? I want to bring this up. Where is my, I'm looking for my font so I can utilize this. Oh, there we go. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit here. All right, so number systems. First thing that we have here is going to be, let me just save my mouse. What numbers? Numbers are exactly 5/3 units from P on the point line. So here's P. So if you looked at, everything is in thirds. So it's already counting by thirds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then you put a point right there. And then we want to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our answer would be -7/3 and 1. This is asking the distance or the absolute value from a certain point. So all we need to know is 5 going to the right, 5 going to the left. From this exact moment is the same distance from here to here. So that's what we're focusing on for number systems or number sense. So let's move on to the next one. It's asking us here. Sorry, this is supposed to be sense, but it's okay. You can put systems, sense, system, same thing. I just realized I wrote that. Select all expressions that show the distance between P and Q. So we need to figure out what the distance is from here to here. All right, so all you have to do is count. We're going to go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we need to figure out all the expressions that show the distance. So we need to figure out everything that equals 13 or 13. So I have 5 minus -8. Well, we should know that the negatives here make a positive. So it's 5 plus 8. That is correct. That is 13. And then we have 5 plus this absolute value. So anything inside the absolute value, once you simplify, turns into a positive. So this will be 5 plus +8, which is also 13. So A and B are both good. Here's where it gets tricky. We have this right here. We have absolute value of -8 plus 5. Now, first you have to simplify this, which is going to be -3, and then that's absolute value, which that's going to turn into a +3. So that is not correct. And then this also is not 13 as well. So the answer is going to be A and B. And if you look over here, the answer right here is A and B. All right, moving on to our other system or other problem. So it's select all expressions that equal this. So what does that equal? Well, -7 minus -12, that also, again, equals -7 plus 12 because we have two negatives. That makes a positive. So -7 plus 12. Well, we see here, -7 plus 12, that's good. Is 7 plus -12 the same? It is not the same because technically that would create a negative. So that would be 7 minus 12. So it's not that. Make that in red. It's not that. And then we have -7 plus -12. That's the same thing. Oh, -7 plus -12. That's not the same thing. But that does not equal. That equals -19 because you're adding a -7 and a -12. That's -19. So that's not it. And then 7 plus 12 does not equal this because we want it to equal 3. So the answer is going to be C. So if we scroll over, answer is C. All right, so C is our answer there. We're moving on to our next it says enter the difference. Now, one thing that you know about difference is that the difference is basically subtraction. And I'll put this in here in your notes. So we have sum is addition. We have difference is subtraction. We have quotient, and that's division. And then I forgot what that one. Oh, product. Yes. Product is multiplication. Sean. Can't fit it. My face is in the way. Sorry about that. All right. So subtraction. We are finding the difference between Hawaii and Dakota. So from here to here. Now, one thing you gotta notice is like, well, where is it from here to here? That's 12. So from this point, from Hawaii there is 12. Well, what about from South Dakota? Well, South Dakota is all the way up here. Let me use a different color blue. All the way up here. And that is 58. So what is the difference between here and here? Well, it's 12 and 58. Now, when they say difference, it's saying 12 minus, and this is negative 58, which means you're actually doing 12 plus 58. So that is going to be 70. Now, you can either do it by the distance. So from what's this point all the way up to this point, and just you can count all the way up, which is going to be 70. Or you can say, what is the difference? What is subtracting a negative? That makes a positive. So the answer is going to be 70. And if we look here, answer is 70. All right, so we're going to do the same thing here. And we are going to ask, what is the difference between Zabrinsky and Furness? So here's Furness, and Zabrinsky is all the way up here. So what is that gap? That gap is from here to here is 178. And then from here to here is 648. So from the total of both those is going to be 648 plus 178. And that is going to be 16, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 826 feet. Again, if you want to find the difference, you can just do 648 minus negative 178, and that'll get you 826. All right, let's take a look at the answer. Answer is 826. We're doing great. Let's go down to these points here. All right, so it says enter the value of this. So we have a negative 22 and a negative 22. So those together is going to equal 44 and negative 44, I should say. And then we have a positive 14 and we have a negative 14. So all I'm doing is circling my terms. So that is going to be 0. Those cancel out. So our answer should be negative 44. For the second one, we have 2.1. And then this creates a positive 0.9 and plus negative 3. So 2.1 and 0.9 is 3. And so negative 3 plus 3, that cancels out, and you get a 0. So the answer for STEM 1 is negative 44, and number 2 is 0. Perfect. All right, we're moving on to the next one. And the next one is going to be a bank represents deposits with positive. Okay, so when you deposit, it's positive, and a withdraw is negative. So when you deposit money, you are adding money to your bank. When you withdraw money, you take away money from the bank. So add money to the bank, remove money from the bank. So that is your bank. Even though it's your money, it's the bank. So what could 5 and negative 20 mean? So 5 means there's 5 groups. 5 groups of what? Or 5 times, right? 5 times negative 20. Well, 5 times I did negative 20. So if it's a negative, I must have withdrew. So 5 deposits? No. 5 withdrawals? Yes. $5 deposit followed by $20 withdrawal. So that's like saying I deposit $5, but then I remove 20. So that would be 5 minus 20. So that's not it. And then 5 withdraw. So that's negative 5 followed by $20 deposit. So that would be positive 15. So that's not it. So it's got to be B. So looking over here, B is the answer, and we're looking really good. All right. Here we go. We're going to have to probably move this up a little bit too, because we're going to be talking about some positives and negatives. All right. So here, all things that are equal to negative 10. So the one thing you need to know about negative 10 sevenths is that can be negative 10 over 7. That can be 10 over 7, or negative 7. So what you notice is that the negative can go to the top or the bottom, but it can't go to both. Cannot go to both. So let's take a look. Do we have a negative 10 sevenths? Well, that's there. So that's done. A negative 10 over 7. I don't see a negative 10 over 7, so we're good there. How about 10 over negative 7? So is there a 10 over negative 7? No, there's not. But what do we have? Well, let's understand what this means. If I have a negative 10 divided by negative 7, I have 2 negatives being divided. So that is going to be a positive 10 sevenths. So is negative 10 sevenths equivalent to 10 sevenths? The answer is no. So it is not equivalent. Now we have a mixed number. So we should be able to understand what this means. So negative 371. That is, remember, that is 7 times 3 plus 1. So 7 times 3 is 21. So that's going to be 22 over 7. Negative 22 over 7, that can't be right. Then we have this. We have a positive number. Well, we know that this is a negative, so it can't be a positive number. But this one's confusing. Let's go over here and understand what this one is really saying. We have a negative, negative, negative 10 7. What that really means is I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 negatives. Well, I know that a negative and a negative create positives. So that means this and this cancel out to create positives. So that means it's a positive 10 and a 7, but this is still here. So that means I have to add it. Now, that's what this means. 3 negatives is still a negative 10 sevenths. So this is going to be a negative 10 sevenths because the 2 negatives cancel out, but you still have 1 left, so it's negative 10 sevenths. This one is a negative 1 3 sevenths. So let's go ahead and do that. 7 times 1 is still 7 plus 3, that's 10 over 7. And there's only 1 negative. So that is also good. So the answer to that would be D and E. So let's go ahead and take a look. D and E is correct, and we're moving along. We're moving along. So make sure you understand mixed numbers. So 1 3 sevenths is equivalent, and we're going to say that that is 7 times, and this is plus. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10 sevenths. So that is how you do a mixed number to improper. You will have to change some fractions around. Next one, negative 4/5. Okay, so we know this can be a negative 4 over 5. It can be a 4 over negative 5. And now we know it can be, this is the crazy one, it can also be a negative, negative, negative 4/5. So this is a negative and a negative, which equals a positive. This one, we know that that and that cancel out. So we're left with negative 4/5. So B looks good. Negative 4/5, that looks good too. Here's a tricky one. this one is saying a negative 4/5, but realize that this is a negative and a negative. Those cancel out. So that is a positive 4/5. So it can't be D. And then E is also correct. So it should be B, C, and E for our answer. B, C, and E. That's what I have. So let's keep it going. We are working on decimals and fractions. So one way you can do it is you can change this all into fractions or decimals. So I'm going to make a line right here. Fractions. I have 1/2 times this right here would be 1. Oops, let me go ahead and clear that up. I have 1/2 times 1.7. That changes into 1/2 times 1 7/10, because that's the tenths column. So then you would go 1/2 times, make that multiplied. 10 times 1 is 10 plus 7, 17 tenths, which would be 17 out of 20. You would want to reduce that down. So that would be, you can make that a fraction, smaller fraction, or decimal. Actually, 17 is a prime number, so you can't. So 17/20 is simplified fraction. But let's see what happens if you made it a decimal. So then if I made it a decimal, it would be 0.5 times 1.7. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to put that together, 0.5. Let's use pink. So 7 times 5 is 35, carry the 3. 5 and 1 is 5, 6, 7, 8. I put an X there, 0 and 0, 0, 0. So that's 85. We have one decimal place and another decimal place, so it's 1, 2. So your answer should be 0.85 or 17/20. That's what your answer should be. Let's take a look at what we got here. And 0.85 is the answer there. So now we're going to take a look at, if you saw the answers earlier, why these are also correct answers. I have a 1/8 and I have a -8. So -8 times 1/8, this is just basically saying over 1. So I have -8 because you multiply across. -8 over 8, that's a -1. -8 divided by 8 is -1. And then I have a -1 times 45 because all of this is multiplied. So it's -8 times 45 times 1/8. And all I did was I said, well, this can multiply that. They're all multiplying together, so you can move them around. So -8 times 1/8 gives me -1. So that should be -45. If you look over here, -45 is the answer. So we're looking good. Let's go ahead and clear it and go to the next one. I have this right here. Now this should be really quickly. I have a -1/10 and a +10. So -1/10 times 10. And remember, 10 is just 10 over 1. So that equals -1. And then I have -100 and 100. So that means it's -100 over 1 times 100th. That equals, put over here, -1, because it's -100 over 100. So again, don't forget you're multiplying across. And that equals -1. So -1, which is my orange, times -1. Well, there's my -1. There's that -1. That's just going to equal 1, because a -1 times a -1 is a +1. So nothing like crazy for an answer, but kind of tough. So then there's a +1 right there. All right. Let's go on to the next one. We have right here, we have 0.45 divided by 9/10. Do not forget KFC. Keep, change, and flip. So what you're going to do here is you're going to multiply 10 times 0.45. That is going to be, and this is over 1, everything's over 1, and that is going to be 4.5 divided by 9. And so now we want to go ahead and see what that's going to equal. 4.5 divided by 9, that's half. That is 1 half. It should be 1 half. Why, unless I'm blanking out. Yep, 0.5. So that is our answer, 0.5. That should be, and if it says enter as a fraction or a decimal, make sure you follow the rules on that on the CAASPP. All right. So this one says enter the decimal equivalent. So all I need to do to find a decimal is know that it's inside out when I do my division. So my in is 11 and my out is 8, and I just have to do division. So 8 goes into 11 one time. 11 minus 8 is 3. Carry down the 3. Bring up my decimal. 8 and 3 is going to be 3 because that equals 24. And then I have 6 as a leftover. 8 into 60 goes in 7 times. And so basically you would have to write this out. So 1.37, that becomes a 56. 740, 2, 56. Yeah, 56. I have 4 left over. So I have 4 left over. I got to bring down another 0. So I'm just kind of like out of space, it looks like. So I'll scoot over. Bring down another 0. 8 and 4 is 5. So the answer is going to be 1.375. And there it is, 1.375. So make sure that you know how to go inside out. I would recommend putting that in your notebook. So fraction over is in and out, and that means it's in and out. So that would be 7 divided by 10, and you can add as many zeros as you want. Enter the decimal equivalent of 5/8. Well, I know that off the top of my head, but how do you do it? Remember, in and out. So 5 in, 8 out, add in some zeros. 8 goes into 5 0 times, bring up my decimal. 8 goes into 50 6 times, which is 48. So then carry down the 0. 8, 16, that goes in 2 times, so that's 16. 8 times 2 is 16. I have a 4. And then let's change the color up a little bit. 8 and that should be 5. That's 40. So 0.625. That's what it should be. 0.625. Perfect. So we are on par right now. We are doing great. I think it's the last 2 problems. So this might be a little tricky, but know that this says 3/8. These brackets are just like parentheses. So you do everything inside parentheses or whatever grouping first. So if you realize you can't really do much here, but you have this negative. So a negative distributed to that, that's going to be a positive. So this is like 2.5. I'm just going to change it to 2.5. Positive. And this right here is 16 and negative 8, which is positive 8. So here I have 3/8 brackets, 8 plus 2.5. I know that's going to be 10.5 brackets, and this is still 3/8. And all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to multiply. So 10.5 times 3, because this can be over 1 as well, that is going to be 31.5 over 8. And then you just simply reduce that. So let me make sure 5, 10, 15, carry the 1, 1, yep. So then we got to reduce this. And then you can simplify. How many times does 31 get divided by 31.5 divided by 8? You can do it long division. 8 goes into 31. 8, 16, 24, 3 times. 24. that becomes a 7. Bring down the 5. Bring up my decimal. And 8 into 75 is going to be, let's see, 9? 9, 18, 7. Yes, 9. 9 times 8 is 72. So I have 3 left over. And I have 3 left over. Bring down the 0. Just keep scooting up a little bit. So this is not 3. Bring down the 0. 8 into 30, 3 times, which is 24. And then we have a 6. Bring down another 0. You might have a calculator, you might not. 8 into 60, that goes into 7 times. And so 7 times is 56, which is a 4. And then another 0, and then you get 8 and 40 is 5. So your answer should be 3.9375 because that goes into it. If it doesn't tell you to round, you want to get the exact answer. So 39375, 39375 is the correct answer. All right. And lastly, we have marked by as a wooden board that's 7.5 feet long. So 7.5 is also 7.5. It's 50 cents per foot. So this is feet. We're charging 0.5 per foot, including the tax. What is the total cost in dollars? So all I'm going to do is see, well, if it's 50 cents per foot, how much does it cost? 7.5 times 0.5. That's 25. 7 times 5 is 35, 36, 37. And then 0, 0, 0, whatever. So 1, 2 decimal places, because there's 1 here, 1 here. So 1, 2. Your answer should be $3.75 for Mark's board. And there's a 375. All right. If you have any questions, please make sure you reach out. We're practicing for the CAASPP. Keep working on the IXL, on the altitude card. I have some IXLs. Just do 3 of these right here. Do 2 of these and just choose one, give you some practice. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in class.